Okay, it is now time for our next presenter. We have Kevin Olson from Legrand. Kevin is the Business Development Manager for Vadio and Luxel. Kevin, thank you so much for being here, and I'm going to have you go ahead and take it away. We do have a Q&A section. Don't forget to ask questions. We will be monitoring them during all of our presentations and making sure that we get those questions answered for you. Take it away, Kevin. Thanks.
Sounds good. Thanks for having us. So my name's Kevin. I'm with Legrand. So talking about the future of video conferencing, a lot of what Gary Kay kind of hit home with me. So some of the things are some common themes. So be good to go here. So for those that don't know, Legrand, we are a bunch of different brands. So in a lot of your conference rooms, you probably see a lot of these in there, from Chief for mounting, or Daylight for projection screens, Middle Atlantic for racks, Vadio for cameras and whatnot in a room. So there's a lot of pieces in these rooms that we can help the team there fill out for you, do some of these designs. So a lot of what Gary Kay was saying, like I said, hit home with me. So I think the rethinking how conference rooms look, doing them different, forgetting about how the traditional room was everybody sitting in a room looking at each other, and we need to change the way we work to look to the people on the far end, the remote participants. So a lot of these rooms have changed on how we do them and how we think about them. So I got a couple of different room types here that we can help with. In terms of small conference rooms, and over the years, we've called these a bunch of different things, huddle rooms and whatnot, and those up to 5 people in one small room doing a video conference. And again, some of these are changing how we do things. But again, with Legrand, excuse me, let me back up there. With Legrand, we can do a lot of pieces to this room. So we have furniture pieces, so we have tables and display stands. Unlike furniture manufacturers, we're kind of thinking about the technology in the room more so than just the table itself. So we give you a space for storing equipment. We give acoustic treatments on it, all these things that we're thinking about in terms of that technology in the room to make your room better. But we can do everything in that room: cables and connectors and speakers and cameras. Again, we moved to these bigger rooms, and this is, again, rethinking how we do these rooms. So traditionally, the narrow side of the room was the front of the room, and a lot of these conference rooms were changing to have the wide side of the room be the front of the room. So again, in a room like this, we're going back to the old days of VTC, where there's an arched table and everyone is facing the display. We're facing the far end participants, so that they have that same experience of, as Gary said, looking eye to eye with the far end. So again, we can help with a lot in this room. We have those arched tables. We can help create that arched table with all the raceway and technology in the room. We have some of these designs done up ahead of time. If you want to explore on legrandav.com, we have some of these set up to kind of inspire you on how to do some of these rooms differently. We talk about scalability too. We always want to think about, what's the conference room going to look like in 2 years from now, because the last 3 years have been ever changing, and I think it'll continue that way. So we also have these arched tables in a higher height, so you can have a second row. Again, everyone is facing the screen. The far end participants can see all the people in the room, help you create that bigger room. We talk about training rooms, corporate training rooms. This could be a lot of different things. So these become more complex, multiple cameras, whatnot. And again, we can help you with all those multi-cameras, microphones, speakers, lectern, credenzas, whatever the case might be. We can help in those bigger spaces as well. And boardrooms, we still see some of these bowling alley style rooms with the rectangular tables, and we can help you here too. We do the tables, we do the credenzas. We can help you with cameras, the racks, the equipment and power solutions, all that kind of in the one room. So as you know, as Gary said during his presentation, and I agree a lot with what he said. All these rooms are changing. The way we've set up the rooms, as far as what's the front, what's the side, multiple displays, is all changing. And I think we need to kind of throw out the idea of a conference room's a rectangular table with a display in the front of the room. Needs to change. So some of these solutions will help us. And we have some specific Vadio products. So, Vadio is, with Legrand AV, Vadio is a camera manufacturer. We make cameras and bridges and switchers and kind of all these pieces and parts that you need to do a conference room. So it's not just the camera, it's also switchers and joysticks and whatnot. And I know that you probably heard a lot about AI today, a lot of AI things out there. And really when we talk about AI, it's not, like it is in the movies. It's, we're telling a device how to identify something, what to do when it identifies it, and create some production. So it's really giving some parameters around a space, what to do, how to react when there's people in the space. So Easy IP is a product we've used a lot in some of those larger conference rooms. You talk about the corporate training room, the bigger spaces, using a network to do multi-camera with audio and all that. So we can create some automation in these spaces. So we have a lot of different ways where we can trigger the system to be able to follow a presenter, to recall presets based on where they are, different IR sensors and contact closure devices to kind of help with that production of the space. So again, when you get into these bigger spaces where you want to have multiple cameras, a lot of these rooms, we talked about facing the far end participants. So as we get into some bigger rooms, those multi-camera solutions to be able to capture multiple people depending on which direction they're facing and looking is a really important part of building these conference rooms. So it's a pretty good solution for us. Then we get into two other products here. We call IntelliShot and Conference Shot EPTZ. There's two cameras. One is for a small room, those 5-person conference rooms we talked about earlier. And then the IntelliShot on the left is for those bigger rooms. It's got a 30x zoom on that camera. So in this scenario, we use motion as a data point for the AI algorithm to work. So we're looking for moving objects in a room. So we're looking for people moving. It's just a really strong data point. When you talk about AI, there's really not a learning portion to the AI. We're telling it to what to look for and what to do when it finds it. So there's some products out there that are looking for a face. Those products are defined on what a face is, and same thing with a voice. We chose to use motion as our data point because it's a really strong data point. There's no confusing it. Something's either moving or it isn't moving. So it's really strong. It's consistent. It's predictable. It's a really good way to do these rooms and have, like I said, that consistent experience. So we look for motion. We do some masking features in it. So of course, like I said, we're really telling it what to do. So if there's windows, if there's doorways, whatnot, we can create masks and have it ignore those areas so that when it processes that algorithm of motion in a space, it will ignore those areas and frame participants in a room. So again, in a conference room application, this will look for people moving, and if 3 people come in, we'll do a nice tight frame of those 3 people. If there's 10 people, we'll widen out and frame those people. And also in terms of the IntelliShot, we can use this for presenter tracking. So again, those corporate training rooms you have, if there's a presenter that's teaching a class, we can frame them around the front of the room. Again, in the front of the room, that presenter is the only thing moving. and we will frame that presenter as they move around a room. So it's a really good way of again, like I said, creating some of those environments that someone can just walk into and not have to touch the equipment and get good production out of their video. It's a really great product. We have these in kind of a different multiple varieties. We have team certified version. We have versions that work with our Easy IP system if you're looking to expand it. Some of them that are just straight USB if you want to take a USB output out the back of it. So really good solution, helps us build out some of these rooms. Excuse me. One new one we have coming out, this one's coming out around the first of the year, of a new video bar, again, for some of those smaller rooms where we have some of these all-in-one devices that can do the whole room. So this is a camera, microphone, speaker bar, all into one. It does have the auto framing, speaker tracking, and smart gallery built into it. It's a nice aesthetic looking camera. It can go in that front of the room, look good for you. We also created some expansion mic pods for it. So you see those mic pods on the right. Those you can add to it, and we can daisy chain up to 3 of these into a room. So again, if you're use this in a small conference room, you can use the video bar on its own. If you try to, push it into a bigger, I'll say rectangular table size room, you can add those microphones to the table to create a better experience. So again, if it's a big room, also if the audio is a challenging space, you can add those microphones as well to get better pickup. So if you have those rooms with glass walls or cement floors and open ceilings, whatnot, this can help give you that better audio for a room. So again, this goes into those huddle spaces, those small conference rooms, all in one, that auto framing, speaker tracking, smart galleries is a pretty big piece for it. And it's really good in terms of these future of video conferencing. So also talk about, I mentioned solution diagrams on our website. So again, if you're looking for ideas, looking for what your rooms could be, like I said, at Legrand, we have 7 different brands that fit into most of your room designs out there. We'll probably have products in every room you have out there. So this is a good way to take a look and get inspired, maybe look at some ideas and think about what your conference rooms will be in the future. We do live product demos. We know with cameras and technology, seeing it and trying it out and getting the right solution is pretty important for us, at least. So we do live demos all the time. If you want to do, with cameras, it's great to be able to do some video demos. If you want, get with your team there and we can arrange demos. So whatever product it is, we do have demo rooms at our main office in Minnesota. So we have a lot of rooms set up like a conference room, configured the way you might have some of your rooms configured, where we can demo it in a real space. I can do some demos from my home office. We can bring product out there. I know Art Foxel on our team loves to get out and do some demos. So we can do that. And, we help with room drawings and design services. So again, like I said, get with your sales team there. If you need help with a room, we can help you kind of put together some of these pieces. We have a solutions engineering team that can help draw them up and get things put together for you. So it's a great group of people that sit around and help us do these designs all day. And like I said, with the 7 brands of Legrand, there's a lot of parts that go into each one of these rooms that we can definitely help with. This is kind of just an example too of one of our spaces. One of our engineers put this together for a customer with kind of all the pieces and parts and part numbers and how to draw it out and wiring diagrams and all the connections to kind of help the team there come up with a solution to to fit your room. There we go. I think I finished maybe a minute or two early into question and answer time. Is there questions that came in through the chat for me?
Yes, we do. We do have some questions here. Other than Headley Crew, what's the other? Sorry, that's actually from somewhere else. We do have a couple questions here. What are you noticing, Kevin, is your most popular device thus far?
Over the last 3 years, I've kind of changed the whole market in terms of conferencing and collaboration. And for us, the Easy IP solution has really taken off. It's become one of our it's an ecosystem of products, I'll say. So it's become really popular. It's just really flexible and scalable for customers that, like I said, early in the pandemic, when people were making decisions on one camera rooms, and as we've talked about, these rooms are changing where they're looking to add multi-cameras into a room to create cameras of sides of rooms and whatnot. It's easy. They can just add cameras to it and they don't have to change any of the equipment in the room. It's all network based, so it's just plugging into a network and running. The IntelliShot that we talked about on the call too has become really popular as well, to be able to have that dual function of auto framing for a conference room or auto tracking for a presenter tracking situation has been a big product for us too.
Awesome, thank you. What are the most popular AI features that you're noticing? And what trends do you anticipate being the most popular later?
Yeah, there's a lot, and that's changing, and that presenter tracking portion, like I said, for us, and more so in maybe the higher education space than it is in the video conferencing space, has been big. We've done a lot of audio tracking scenario where we've partnered with other manufacturers to do, based on where a person is speaking in a room, to recall presets and trigger based on that space to really help that experience of in a conference room of framing on a speaker and not just a room. So those are kind of the big ones we've seen here. And I know Gary talked a little bit about front row of that smart gallery, pulling individual faces out in a big room to make them all individual in a video call is a big one that we'll see, in the future, where that goes and where it's adapted, and if Teams front row kind of hangs on and has all those individual faces and how it all works. So it'll be interesting to see.
Thanks, Kevin. We do have a couple more questions here. Are all of these TAA or BAA compliant for the government?
Yeah, it's a good point. Vadio is based in Minnesota. We do all of our assembly in Minnesota. So we buy components from all over the world and do assembly in Minnesota for the most part. There's a few that aren't, but the majority of our products are all just built right in Minnesota. The video bar that we talked about during this one, when we launched that one, it won't be TAA compliant at launch. So, take a little bit to get there on that. But yeah, it's interesting to be a camera manufacturer and having all that assembly done right in Minnesota. So it's kind of unique.
Great, thank you. What is the optimal room size for your IntelliShot? And can you tell us about some of the limits?
Yeah, IntelliShot is unique. Like I said, it has a 30x zoom on that camera, so we can use it in some big rooms. We've used it in higher education applications where, we've had, 60, 70 foot deep rooms where we're tracking a presenter in a pretty deep room. When we talk about the dual purpose of that camera, so the other application in terms of video conferencing, it really comes down to the width of the room. So that camera is an electronic pan tilt zoom camera, so the camera doesn't physically move left or right. It uses a 4K image sensor, and we just electronically move that image around. So in a conference space, the width of the room is more of a requirement for us. You know, we have a 70.2 degree wide field of view. So really that width, as long as we can capture the participants in that width, then it's appropriate for those rooms. So
okay,
hopefully
awesome.
that was clear.
It's clear. And you may have already addressed this, but can you talk to us about availability?
Yeah, you know, that's another good point. So for Vadio, again, being based in Minnesota, you know, we buy, as I said, we buy components from all over the world, but they're on a shelf there in Minnesota. Everybody's heard about the chips. Everybody has their precious chips that they need to use. For us, they're on a shelf, and we just use them to build what gets ordered. So typically, when you place an order with us, we'll build it the next day and ship it out the day after that. And so we've really been able to manage our supply chain, because we're not having to make decisions 6 months in advance on what people are going to buy. We're making decisions the day they're bought. So right now, I don't think there's anything that we don't have parts available to build. So everything is pretty much within a 2 or 3 day lead time for shipping.
And do you partner with any other manufacturers is another question we have here.
Yeah, we do partner with some, some unofficially and some more officially. We're always working with people out in the fields every day. Officially on our website, there is a section, we call it industry collaborations, where we work with Mersive and Barco and Microsoft and Zoom. I'm probably even forgetting one or two, but there's a handful on there and that's Legrand as a whole. So sometimes there's some chief partnerships, some daylight partnerships that are listed out there. But yeah, every day out in the field, we're working with other manufacturers, because it's more and more, it's hard to complete these rooms without partnering with somebody.
Do you find that your devices are better used with Zoom or Teams, or do you find that it doesn't matter either or?
That's a tricky question. I'll say generally, I've been with Vadio for going on 10 years now, and we've always kind of tried to think of ourselves as Switzerland, and we want to work with everybody, because, why not? So, if you're using your computer with a USB connection to our products to run Zoom or Teams or Google Meetup or WebEx or whatever you want, we work just fine. We have all universal video class and universal audio class. So that means that when you plug your computer in, there's no drivers needed. It's all built into the operating system. So when you plug in the computer, there's no issues. Sometimes if we get into more of these appliance-based rooms, then there's certifications and different things that are required. So we have some, but yeah, generally, like I said, I use my camera here in my home office every single day with Zoom and Teams and WebEx and Google. I think those are probably the 3 or 4 I use all the time. So,
well, thanks so much for speaking to that compatibility. I know that was a popular question here in our Q&A section. Any observations about the overall pace of activity throughout the West and/or nationally?
Activity in terms of new deployments of video conferencing.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question, because everybody knows what the last 4 years have been, and it's probably been peaks and valleys for us. 2020 and 2021, everybody was rushing off to buy whatever they could get their hands on, and it's kind of been ebbs and flows. And as Gary said, the return to the office, it's a real thing and a real struggle. And, we see, like I said, peaks and valleys in that of offices coming back slowly, varied hours. And, with that, some of the video conferencing goes with it. And, I talked about them. It's interesting to see on those room types that I talked about earlier, in terms of where we end up going. And I think, a year from now is going to be different than 5 years from now. I think I've seen less of those small rooms going in, because I just don't think 3 to 5 people want to squeeze in a small room anymore. I think we've all gotten past that a little bit. So yeah, it's kind of peaks and valleys. We see a big push, from time to time, and it fades off a little bit. So part of it is, there's certain companies in certain places that upgraded every room in their building, and so then they don't have things for a while, and others that are trailing behind. So it's been a fun, interesting 4 years, and I'm sure we have another 4 or 5 just like it coming. So
I have one more question here. Is the bar solution primarily a BYOD solution?
Yeah, I typically think of that as a BYOD solution, just because of the type of room it goes in. But we've seen some rooms like that use a dedicated PC, some that use a video codec device as well. So either way, but yeah, majority of them have been BYOD rooms. It's kind of interesting to see in terms of the market where it goes with BYOD. I came out of the pandemic thinking everybody learned how to do a video call from their laptop at home and everything would go to BYOD. It hasn't quite played out to be as extreme as I thought, but we'll see.
Well, thank you so much, Kevin. Again, a business development manager for Vadio and Luxol. And thank you, Legrand. We so appreciate you. It is now time for our next giveaway. I'm going to go ahead and switch our. So we have here is it pronounced consensus? Kevin?
Say that again.
Is this pronounced?
Oh, it's concise.
A concise dual arm mount with a charging base. This is a great giveaway from Legrand. I'm going to have you go ahead and pick a number, Kevin, between 1 and 150, if you don't mind.
We'll go with 42.
Okay, 42. Great. That number has not been chosen yet. Okay, number 42. That is Nathaniel Nunez. Congratulations, Nathaniel Nunez. You are the winner of this concise dual arm mount with charging base from Legrand. What a terrific prize, and what an outstanding presentation from Kevin Olson. Thank you so much again. It is now time for our next presentation.